Jot it all down. I'm trying to get kids hooked like me. Be a buyer of empty books. Kids find it interesting. I buy an empty book with nothing in it. Especially at my station in life. What did I pay for this one? $26. Kids find that really interesting. I'd pay $26 for an empty book. Kids say, why would you do that? And I said, to prompt me to go searching and looking till I find something worth $26 to put in here. Now, all of my journals are private. But if you happen to get a hold of one of my journals, you would not look very far and read this stuff until you would say, hey, this is worth a lot more than $26. No wonder Mr. Rohn's healthy. Look at his journals. No wonder he gets to travel around the world. Look at his library. No wonder she's a strong mother. Look at her journals. No wonder she's got the answers for her family. Look at her library. No wonder she's got it together. No wonder he's powerful. No wonder he's rich. Look at his journals. Look at his library. This is where it all starts. I'm asking you to do that. You got to read the books. You got to have a library. Now, I haven't read everything in my library, but I feel smarter just walking in it. At least I was smart enough to buy it all. Now I got to be smart enough, right, to follow through, make sure I get it read, study, practice, sort through it, make my own decisions on what's valuable, and go do it so that my enterprises for the future will take on more value, more structure, more equities. My health, my life, my future, my relationship with my family, all the rest will improve and change. I'm asking you, here's the key phrase, be a serious student. Develop your library. Show got me started. He said, have you got a Bible? I said, well, yes. He said, well, that's 66 books. I felt better about that. My parents made sure I was a pretty good scholar by the time I was 18. 66 books. Here's a couple of books Shof recommended. One was called Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Napoleon wrote a classic. Think and Grow Rich. Shof said, doesn't that title intrigue you, Mr. Rohn? I said, yes, sir. He said, wouldn't you have to get that book, Think and Grow Rich? I said, yes, sir. So I started looking for it. I found it in a used bookstore. It's where I had to start. I paid less than 50 cents for it. I've still got it. It's one of the rare hardback covers. Started me on the road to recovery. Some of the ideas in that book changed my life. Now, it's got some weird stuff in it. You know, Napoleon was part weird. So you got to separate out some of the weird stuff. Okay? Unless you're weird, just do the weird stuff. Doesn't matter. Here's another book I use as a textbook to teach teenagers how to be rich by 40, 35 if you're extra bright. Part of it's going to be in my new book. A little book called The Richest Man in Babylon. The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason. C-L-A-S-O-N. This little book helped me become a millionaire by the time I was 31. That's why I teach it to kids. As a textbook. Let me give you some key points about this little book. Richest Man in Babylon. Here they are for your notes. Number one, it's easy to find. I'm telling you, it's easy to find. The average bookstore's got it. If they haven't got it, guess what? They can get it for you. This little book is easy to find. Here's number two. It's easy to buy. This little book is easy to find. Here's number two. It's easy to buy. I'm telling you, this stuff's easy. You don't need ocean waves and seagulls. This stuff's too easy. The most you can pay for this little book is about $5, $6, $7. Okay? You can borrow that from your kid. $5, $6, $7. And number three, you've already guessed what? It's easy to read. It's in story form. That's why I use it for teenagers, teaching wealth by 40, 35 if you're extra bright, much sooner if you find a unique opportunity. You can read it in 2 or 3 evenings. If you get inspired, you could read it in 1 evening. Lord, I hope some out of this audience would get inspired, read it in 1 evening, because I want to listen to the future stories. But here's number 4, and this will explain all I've been trying to talk to you about up until now. Here's point number 4. It's easy not to look for this little book. Make sure you jot that down. That's this whole part of this first part of the seminar. It's easy not to look for this little book. Doesn't that explain everything? Yes. I've now lectured, and I think I've recommended this little book to all of them, over 3 million people in the last 33 years, formally, by satellite and by every other means. And I've recommended this little book. Guess how many have actually gone and found it? Answer, very few. Here's my best guess, about 10%. You say, well, Mr. Rohn, why wouldn't the other 90% go find this little book? Answer, we don't know. What do you know? You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. Here's my best answer. My most profound philosophical phrase. Here it is. Some do and some don't. I mean, that's how profound this stuff is. About 10% do and about 90% couldn't be bothered. They're specializing in happy hour, but not the wisdom of the world, change their life, change their health, and change their future. But now here's my advice to you, and I came all the way from my home. Instead of spending a day with my family today, I came to spend it with you. To ask this of you. Personally, walk away from the 90%. Don't talk like they talk. Don't act like they act. Don't go where they go. Don't read what they read. Walk away from the 90% and join the 10% who go find this little book. I've recommended it to so many people over the last 33 years that have made fortunes. Fortunes. Some of them staggering fortunes once they read this little book. So join the 10%. Guess how many people have a library card in America? How much is a library card in your community? Free. Here's what free is. Easy. It doesn't get any easier than free. Somebody says, well, would you bring it by? Well, no, you've at least got to go get it. Here's how many people have a library card. Wisdom of the world available. Change any part of your life you want changed. Get all the information you could possibly use for a lifetime. 3%. 97% couldn't be bothered. They don't stop in the library. They drive by. Andrew Carnegie thought they were all going to stop in. That's why he built all those libraries all across America. No, they don't stop in. They drive by. Here's what I'm asking you to do. Walk away from the 97%. Don't use their vocabulary. Don't use their excuses. Don't use their method of drift and neglect. Won't even walk around the block for their health. Won't even eat an apple a day. Won't even take the time to refine their philosophy for a better life. Walk away and join the 3%. Guess how many people can retire from the income of their own personal resources when it comes time to retire? Answer, 5%. In America, 5% of the people are independent. 95% are dependent. Take charge of your own retirement, you can multiply it at least by 5. Let the government take care of it, some company take care of it, you've got to divide by 5. I'm asking you, take charge of your own retirement. Take charge of your own life. It happens to be one of the titles of my own cassette program, Take Charge of Your Own Life. That's what we've talked about here all morning. Take charge of your own day. Don't have days like most people have. You'll wind up broke and poor. Pennies, no treasures. Trinkets, no values. Change it all. And it starts as simple as an apple a day. It starts as simple as the first book of your new library. It starts as simple as the first journal that you get, and make the first entry that when people see it will say, this is the beginning of a study of a serious student. They're going to be healthy. They're going to be powerful. They're going to be rich. They're going to have it all. Look, they've committed themselves to a whole new journey. I'm asking you to do that. But what's easy to do is what? Easy not to do. But walk away from the 90%. Walk away from the 97%. Walk away from the 95%. Don't go where they go. Don't do what they do. Don't talk like they talk. Develop you a whole new language. Be part of the few. Guess when I went and got this little book, Richest Man in Babylon? Guess when I went and got it? The same day I heard about it. I went and got it. Somebody says, well, Mr. Rohn, does that make you different than most everybody else? And the answer is yes. Somebody says, well, why is that? We don't know. What do we know? You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. All we know is some get the spark and say, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to change my health. I'm going to change my relationship with my family. I'm going to change everything. And if it starts with an apple, if it starts with a walk around the block, if it starts with a book, if it starts with a journal, whatever it starts with, I'm a candidate. I'm ready to go and change my life. I invite you on that journey. Once you look back on it, you will never turn back. You'll never go back to the old ways and the old language and the old neglect. Never. Cardiovascular problems alone in America create over 1,000 funerals a day. And 70% of it is neglect. I'm asking you not to hope they're going to fix this out here next year so that you'll be healthier. I'm asking you to pick up some new disciplines so that you will be healthier. Drive yourself to do it. Book by book, entry by entry. It's all available for you. Now, let me tell you what to put in your library. Number one, your listening library. This gives me a chance for a little commercial here. Just a little commercial. Your listening or your viewing library. I'm sorry, number one is your viewing library. I've got a lot of old videos that were filmed for the 2-day and my 1-day seminars, but they're sort of ancient. And now we've come up with a brand new version. It's about 4.5 hours, and one of the major subjects in here for kids is how to be rich by 40-35. 4.5 hours, your viewing library, right? Especially for kids sometimes. It's easier for them to watch than it is for them to listen or to read. So this is a good place to start. Video library, 4.5 hours, about 1,100 people, 3 cameras. It's nice. I'm really proud of it. Here's number two, your listening library. Turn your car into a mobile classroom. I've got a 2-day seminar that I do every once in a while. We'll do a couple probably next year. But if you can't get to the 2-day seminar, here's the volumes because it's been recorded, Volume 1 and Volume 2, listening library. Then here's number 3, your reading library. Now, I've only got 3 books, so my books don't make a library. But all I want them to do is to make a contribution. Because if you'd like to go through this stuff that we're covering today again, one of the best ways is by cassette. Maybe have the book to read. Books are mobile, portable. They can be sent somewhere. They can go somewhere. Read the books. You got to read the books. Here's a good phrase to take home. What you don't read won't help. The book you miss might cost you a fortune. You say, well, how much is it? Well, it isn't what it costs. It's what it costs if you don't have it. That's the big cost. So never begrudge the money you spend on your own personal education. Here's what Mr. Shoaff taught me. Good phrase to take home. Formal education gets you a job. Self-education gets you rich. Formal education make you a living. Self-education, what? Make you a fortune. And that's what all the stuff I've got is for. Just take a look. Take home whatever will serve you well. Wonderful. Now, here's what else. Somebody says, Mr. Rohn, I don't read well. Take this phrase home. You've got to change that. You can't go through with that kind of a handicap the rest of your life not being able to read well. There's too many classes you can take to speed up your reading. Get through more books. Retain more of what you do read. Do not limp along with a mental handicap of not being able to get through the books and get through the periodicals and get through the magazines and get through the stuff that can help to change your life. Never begrudge the money you spend on personal education, because that's where the miracle is. It's called the miracle of the mind. Incredible. Okay, now I've got to give you number 2. I've spent enough time on number 1. In fact, I got too carried away here. Philosophy. The first major piece of the 5 major pieces. Let me just start now on the second, and then we're going to take a little stretch break here. Everybody that's okay, say, I'm okay. I'm okay. All right. I like this crowd. I'll take you with me as my traveling crowd. How many have 3 pages of notes already? Wonderful. My gosh, you're working as hard as I am. I appreciate that. Appreciate it. Okay, the first major piece we talked about was philosophy. We're affected by what we know and the decisions we make. Here's the second major piece. Attitude. We're affected by how we feel. 1's what we know, 2 is how we feel. The emotional part. Now, for life change, we don't start with the emotional part. We don't start with motivation to change people's lives. I know some people say, well, Mr. Rohn, by now I expected a lot of motivation here. We should be standing on the chairs waving flags. No, that won't do it. Somebody say, just motivate this guy. He'll be all right. Just turn him on, motivate him. Well, probably not. If a guy's an idiot, you motivate him. Now you got a motivated idiot. I'm telling you, it won't be all right. Key phrase for your notes. Life change does not start with inspiration. Life change does not start with inspiration. Life change starts with education. When I first met my teacher, he did not inspire me. Here was his first task when he first met me, to find out what was wrong. And the first part of his education was what? Simple. You have messed up. Pennies in your pocket after 6 years, something is wrong. Now, you don't have to change countries. And you don't have to wait for the next election. If you're willing to start doing something about it, you can change it all. So the first part of his education was what? You've messed up. But he didn't leave me there. He said, now, here's the second part of your education. How to change it all, if you're interested. Now, some people aren't interested. I understand that. But I would assume that most of them are not here. You shelled out your cash, time, and money to be here. I would assume you're interested. So you qualify. For those that are interested, I'm telling you, you can change the whole next 6 years of your life if you're interested. You can change your income. You can change your future. Why? Anybody that wants to can set a better sail, regardless of the wind that blows. So life change starts with education, not inspiration. But now it is important how we feel. The attitude part is important. Let me give you now the short list. Just before our stretch break, the short list on how you feel. There's a long list. In our leadership weekend, we get into it all. How you feel about the government, how you feel about taxes. Shove taught me well at age 25, taught me how to become a happy taxpayer. I used to say, I hate to pay my taxes. Shove said, well, that's one way to live. I thought, well, doesn't everybody? He said, no, a few of us have moved beyond that. I used to say, I hate to pay my bills. Shove said, you hate to reduce your liabilities and increase your assets? And I said, well, that's a different way of looking at it. He had me looking at things in a whole different manner. I used to say it costs too much. Shove said, no, let's face the real problem, Mr. Rohn. You can't afford it. I thought, whoa. I never looked at it like that. I always thought it was the problem. Shove said, no, Mr. Rohn, you are the problem. When I gave him that list of excuses why I hadn't done well, he looked them all over and said, Mr. Rohn, big problem with this list. You ain't on it. Come on, let's get you on the list now. Set a better sail. Don't keep wishing for a better wind. Maybe the Republicans next time. Don't postpone your life like that. Get you some new books, get you some new information, start listening to the cassettes, watching A Voice of Value, and see if you can't pick up some ideas to start the change immediately. And the next 6 years could work a miracle for you like it did for me that 6 years. Okay, but attitude is important. Now, here's the short list on how you feel. Number 1, it's how you feel about the past. You've got to have a good, healthy attitude about the past. And here's the best advice I can give you on that. Treat the past as a school. Let it teach you. Maybe a harsh school, tough school. What else is new? We've all been through some tough stuff. Some tougher than others, I understand that. But here's what I want you to use the past for. A schoolmaster. A schooling. Don't let the past beat you, carry it around like a burden.